Hello and welcome to Blossom Sandwich Sews. My name is Yvette and today I am bringing you a Friday Sews. So if you are a follower of my channel, you will have noticed that I have been absent for a while. I haven't done a video for ages, and one of the reasons for that is because my husband and I have been super busy developing Stash Hub, which is a new app for iOS and Android that you can use to catalogue your fabric and pattern stash and use to plan projects. So the idea is that it's all of your sewing organisation in one place. So I'll tell you a bit more about that project in a minute, but the theme of today's video is showing you how I store my fabric and my pattern stash. So this is a weekly theme for Friday Sews. So Friday Sews is developed by Jen from Today in Jen's Sewing Room, who I shall link in the description, although I'm sure that if you are into Friday Sews, you will have already heard of her. So she creates weekly prompts as a sort of suggested talking point for the Friday Sews videos. So I missed last week, so I'm going to just combine the fabric stash and the pattern stash into one video for you, because I store everything within this one cupboard anyway, so it kind of makes sense to tell you about it all in one go. I'm actually really excited to see everyone's videos, to have a little nosy at how they keep their fabric and patterns and everything. So let's dive straight in. So this is my cupboard. It's an IKEA Pax wardrobe or closet. So it's quite tall, but you buy all the bits separately. So you get the frame and then you get the doors, and then you can choose what you want inside as well. So I've got 3 shelves and then 3 kind of basket drawers. So before I ordered everything, I kind of made a plan for how I wanted to lay it out to figure out how many shelves and drawers and everything to get. So that this is quite a good solution for me. This works really well for me. But I know that the IKEA Kallax units are quite popular for storing fabric as well. So let's jump right in with the fabric. So up here on the top shelf is where I store most of my fabrics. So I've recently had a bit of a tidy up of the fabrics. So now we've got these are all kind of cotton type fabrics on this side, and then here we've got the viscoses, and then on top are the jerseys. So I don't tend to do a lot of sewing with jersey, to be honest. So I've only got like 3 pieces. This is the Shreks that I bought ages ago to make something for my husband. So eventually I will get round to that. I've even bought the matching ribbing and everything. So I did do previously a video going through like my entire, well, I did actually 2 videos going through my entire fabric and pattern stash. So I'll put a card in for those. But yeah, let me know if you'd be interested in seeing like another sort of stash tour video where I go through all of my fabrics. So this is sort of how I store them all. I just sort of fold them all to a roughly similar size and then stack them up so I can see them all. So this is basically my whole fabric stash, apart from I've got a few overflow fabrics here. So ideally my aim is to fit everything on these shelves. So I have just done a couple more projects, so I've got a little space. So hopefully get there soon after I've cut a few more things out. And then I will show you, I'll put in a screen recording of what my stash looks like in our app Stash Hub. So you can order it by colour, which I think looks really nice. And then when you go into the records, you can save lots of information about each piece of fabric. So how much you've got, how wide it is, where you got it from, the date, the price, all sorts of things. I tend to buy most of my fabric online, so I can copy and paste the description, and you can also upload photos. You can either take your own photos or you can add like a photo from your gallery if you download or take a screenshot of the, you know, the nice professional photos from the fabric website. So this shelf in the middle here, we won't dwell on too long because this is kind of the messier part of this cupboard. So yeah, we've got overflow fabrics. These are kind of mending slash refashioning projects, and then these bags are scraps that are awaiting being stuffed into the self-drafted armchair that I made, which sounds crazy because it is crazy. I'll put in a picture of that creation. So then we'll just skip past a couple of these things for now, and then I can show you at the bottom of this cupboard. Let's go down. So the bottom sort of basket of this cupboard is where I store my fabric scraps. So they're fairly neatly organised. So I just fold them similar to the fabric into like a sort of, each one is a similar size piece. So I just keep them there, and then I've got kind of viscoses, I guess, here, and then there's a bit of jersey there, cottons. They're not super well categorised, some fat quarters here. So I don't tend to do a lot of, you know, quilting or fabrics that require small amounts of fabric. So I have become quite picky about what lengths of fabric I will keep and what goes into that scrap bag to go into the little chair thing, because I just won't use them and they'll just clog up loads of space. So yeah, I just keep what I think I could use. I have got a video about some scrap busting ideas and projects that I've done, so I'll put in a card to that. But I tend to mostly use scraps to make like drawstring bags, because I think they're really good like gift bags. If you're giving a present to someone, it means that you don't have to go to the you know, the card shop to buy some wrapping paper or a gift bag, because you could just whip some up from some scraps that you've got. So I've got some ribbons here in the back that I use to, you know, tie up the drawstring bags. So yeah, that's my sort of scraps situation. Yeah, that's all I've really got to say about the fabric, to be honest. So yeah, let me know if you've got any thoughts on this fabric situation, or if there's any more that you'd want to see, or go into, you know, any particular fabrics that I've got. And then moving on to patterns. So this drawer is where I'm keeping paper patterns. So I tend to prefer to buy PDF patterns, because you can get them printed A0, just cut them out, and then if you want a different size, or I don't know, you lose it or tear it or whatever, you can just get it printed out again. So these are my paper patterns, because obviously you do accumulate some. Most of these ones are kind of the ones that you get with magazines. So like the Simply Sewing magazine, I've got a few of. I'm not a subscriber, but I just buy it if I kind of like the look of the patterns, or if I'm like, I don't know, going on holiday or something, then I'd like have a nice magazine to read. Also, I have got a few sort of fabric subscription boxes from the Hey Sew Sister shop. So they include a paper pattern. So this is the Chalk and Notch Marcel dress, which I think is really beautiful. And I was kind of hoping to make it this year, but I don't know now if I will get time before we run out of summer, so we'll see how that goes. So these are just arranged just by like fabric, by pattern type. So I've just done post-its. This is a sort of makeshift solution, but I don't really have a great kind of plan for these at the moment. So I've just got like a stack of dresses, dungarees and trousers, tops, and then more like random stuff like accessories and kids stuff. This bit here, these are just like, I will just chuck in a pattern that's on the go in here. This is just a random scrap. And then I've got these like plastic wallets that I use to keep work in progress / abandoned projects. So that's what that is over here. And then On this side is all of the vintage patterns that I've got from my husband's gran. So they're mostly sort of 70s patterns, but there are a few older ones. Like I think this one is a 1963, but I really love the scoop back on that, and the big skirt. This is quite a cool one as well, which I think Doug's gran made for my mother-in-law at some point. I don't know if this one's got a date on it. Yeah, so there's some really cool ones in here. I actually do have a video with me going through some of my favourite of this vintage pattern collection. So yeah, I'll put in a card for that if you want to check that out. The only one I've made myself so far is this one, which I made a black version, so it's quite similar to this girl on the pattern packet. So I'll put in a picture of me in that. So I made it for a James Bond party that one of my friends hosted, because I thought it had kind of Bond girl energy. So that was quite fun to wear. I did take quite a lot of toiles though, because the block that the pattern's drafted for is like the vintage Mrs. block, it's called, which is basically a less curvy block, which isn't really my body shape, so I had to do quite a lot of adjustments to create room for like my hips and my butt to fit in the pattern, but we got there in the end. And then just for completeness, I'll show you this drawer, even though it doesn't have fabric or patterns in, but this is sort of my sewing accessories drawer. So there's things like my kind of quilting rulers that I use a lot, even though I don't really do quilting, bias tape makers, which I think are really helpful. All my threads I store in these spool pods from Pattern Trace, which I really like because you can store the thread with its accompanying bobbin, so you don't have to like, you know, rummage around to find the bobbin as well, and like make sure you get the right colour. Buttons I've all got in this packet. So yeah, all kind of notions and labels and interfacings in here, that's all in this drawer. And then above this shelf is where I keep my patterns. So I get my patterns, my PDFs I get printed at a company called Plan Printing 24, which is the most affordable A0 printing that I've found in the UK. So I think it's only like 75p per sheet, something like that, and then it's like £5 for postage, and they send you them folded. So that's what I tend to use, and I tend to you know, accumulate a few patterns before I'll send them all together for printing, just to you know, make it more economical. So ones PDFs that I've had printed but not cut out yet, they live in this box, so I won't get that out, but it's a really useful box is the brand name, and it's just a clear box, like kind of A4 size, so they fit in perfectly, the folded patterns, because they fold them to A4 size, and I just get them, they're just printed on like kind of regular copy paper. I'm not a fan of like the tissue pattern paper, I find it too faffy, but that's just my personal preference. And then once I've cut them out, I will put them into a clear poly pocket and put them into one of these binders. So each pattern goes in its own little pocket, and then I'll put on a post-it that is the name of the designer, the pattern, and then what size I've cut out, and then I can just flick through to find the pattern that I'm after, and these are in alphabetical order by pattern name. So I've got 3 binders. This one is for tops, this one in the middle is dresses, and then this one is sort of like bottoms. So yeah, I mean, I think like these binders are getting quite full now, so I don't know if I'm gonna have to change this sort of setup at some point. But yeah, I'm quite interested to see everyone else's Friday Sews videos about how they store their patterns, to see if I can pick up any ideas basically. Yeah, so I don't know, I quite like that they're contained in the binders rather than, I feel like they would probably take up even more space if they were all in separate envelopes in like boxes and stuff. But yeah, this is sort of my solution, and it kind of works for the moment. So that this is where we're at the moment. And then I've also got on this shelf some sewing books. So this Make It Simple book is what I bought when I like first started sewing in like early 2020, and that really helped me get into garment sewing, because I'd never really, you know, even heard of, well, I'd obviously like, I hadn't ever really kind of considered using sewing patterns or anything like that before. So yeah, that was really helpful. And then I've also got this, this is quite a popular textbook, Metric Pattern Cutting for Women's Wear, which I've kind of had a flick through. I haven't looked through it a lot, to be honest, but it is quite technical about how you can draft your own sloper and how you can, you know, adapt patterns to make different designs. So it is quite a good reference material. And there's a section about fitting as well, which is quite useful. Like, so you can, if you have an issue, you can look it up in here and see if you can figure out what adjustment needs to be done. So yeah, I've got a few sewing books, not loads, and then I've also some sewing magazines I like to keep as well. So yeah, that's the physical storage of my sewing patterns, and I will show you, I'll show you the patterns in Stash Hub as well. So similar to the fabrics, each pattern has its own card, and you can put in the designer and then lots of details about each pattern. So for example, what notions you need, so you can check that you've got everything you need before you start sewing. I feel like I'm so zoomed in. I'll move back a bit. Yeah, so you can put in as much or as little detail as you want into Stash Hub, really, because it's your own like personal reference. So you can leave some fields blank if they're not relevant to you, or if you can't, you know, don't have the time to put in all the information right away. And then also in Stash Hub there are features to add your measurements, add a shopping list, and the projects tab, which I think is the most exciting one. So you can pair together a pattern and a fabric to create a project, and then you can, you know, set a deadline if you're working on a vlog or a blog, and like set a priority, what season it's for, all sorts of things. So I'll link Stash Hub in the description. I don't want to go on about it too long because that's not the theme of this video. But yeah, let me know if you have any questions about it, or if there's anything else you want to see from my pattern and fabric stash. So thank you so much for joining me, and thank you for bearing with me whilst I've been a bit absent from this channel. Like I say, my husband and I have been really busy, so he's the one doing the coding, I should say. So he's an app developer, so he's coding Stash Hub, so obviously he's been really busy doing that side of it, and then I've been quite busy, you know, thinking about you know, other ideas and like how the app's going to work, because I've got the like sewing background and I know the sewing community and stuff. So yeah, there's loads going on behind the scenes for Stash Hub. We have a Facebook group if you want to get even more information behind the scenes, or obviously you can follow our Instagram, which is @stash_hub. Yeah, so anyway, I said I wasn't going to talk about it too much, so I'll leave you with that, and then maybe I'll do another video about it in the future if you're interested. But yeah, thanks so much for joining me, and I'm really excited to have a nosy at everyone else's fabric and pattern stash as well, because it's just like so, I don't know, I'm just so nosy, I think. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you around. Bye!